Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today we are doing a tag video. I am so bad at doing tags on this channel. I don't know what it is. I like them, but I just never participate for some reason. And I really felt like doing a horror book themed tag video today. And this tag is called the Horror Life tag, and this was created by Marie McWilliams here on YouTube. I will link her video down in the description box. And I think if you enjoy my types of videos, or at least my horror videos, because, you know, I also do a lot of other stuff on here, but if you enjoy my horror videos, I think you would really enjoy her channel as well. So yeah, this tag is just for all the horror lovers out there, and I thought it would be fun and that I would participate. So let's get started, shall we? The first question is, what is the first horror movie you remember seeing? This is so easy for me to answer. The answer is Halloween. There is video proof of me watching this as a child. I remember it very clearly. I was getting ready to go trick-or-treating and my mom was putting on my costume. I went as Queen Amidala because I was obsessed with her as a kid. And as my mom is putting on my makeup, on the TV is Halloween, and my mom's putting on my makeup and I'm just like, I was so interested and I loved Halloween. Actually, I shouldn't say loved. I love Halloween. Halloween is a great franchise. But yeah, it was the very first scary movie I remember seeing. I remember watching it with my mom all the time. I obviously started watching horror movies as a wee little tot. Probably younger than a lot of people should watch horror movies, but it was just a thing me and my mom did. It was just our like bonding thing. We still watch scary movies together today. It's just how we bond with each other. So yes, the first movie I ever remember seeing is Halloween. Question 2 is, what was the first horror book that you remember reading? Now, this question's hard for me, so I'm going to kind of split this up into the times of my life. So as a child, the first horror book I remember reading was the Goosebumps book, Say Cheese and Die. This is unfortunately Say Cheese and Die again. I don't have the first one. I own the second one for some weird reason. I don't really know why. But yes, I remember checking Say Cheese and Die out of the library and reading it on my way home. That was my first time reading a Goosebump book and I fell in love with them. I love R.L. Stine. He's incredible to me. I will always love R.L. Stine, and yeah, I fell in love with Goosebumps. God, I read those all the time. I watched a ton of the show. I watched the movies. Anyways, the first one as a kid I remember is Say Cheese and Die. I fell in love with Goosebumps so hard and so fast. The second part to this question, as a middle schooler slash teen, I'm gonna be honest, as a teenager, I read a lot of romance books. I was very much a romance, you know, YA kind of teen. I loved romance. To be fair, I still love romance, don't get me wrong. I don't read a lot of it anymore just because I'm really dedicated to my horror at the moment, but I would love to read more romance in the future. But as a teen, I was very much more focused on those. I didn't read a lot of thrillers or mysteries or horror or anything like that. So as a middle schooler slash teenager, I was really into the Fear Street books. I loved the R.L. Stine Fear Street series. I still love them. I still read them. I've reviewed a few here on my channel because I love them so much. I don't think there's an age on reading. I don't think, you know, I don't think you have to read any sort of genre at any certain age. I don't think it's a big deal. So I will always love Fear Street books. But I don't actually remember the first Fear Street book I ever read, but I do remember reading this one, which was All Night Party, so that's the one I picked. So more or less as a teeny bopper, ew, I sound so old when I say something like that, I read a lot of Fear Street. Now, if we're talking about being an adult, which I know is hard to believe, I am an adult. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I am an adult. The first horror book I can remember reading, I don't know if this is true or not, but I asked my mom and my boyfriend and they both think it's this book as well, so I'm going to say that it was Stephen King's Needful Things. I love this book. I am not the biggest Stephen King lover. Now, do not get me wrong. I think Stephen King is a wonderful writer. I think he is fantastic at what he does, and I think he deserves all the hype and, you know, attention that he gets. Me personally, he is just not my favorite writer because I just don't love the way he writes a lot of the time. I think his books are a little too long. I think they're a little too detailed just for my liking personally. So I don't always love his books, unfortunately, but Needful Things is 100% my favorite book by Stephen King. I think it is fantastic. I think more people need to read Needful Things. I think it is such an amazing, amazing book, and I loved it so much when I read it. I fell in love with this book as I was reading it, and I just will never forget how I felt reading this book. Question 3 is, what is the movie that made you a horror fan? This is going to be a little bit redundant. Halloween. I love Halloween. I love it so much. It's my all-time favorite horror movie by far. I will love that franchise till the day I die. I love the newest one that just came out. I thought that was fantastic. I'm wearing a Michael Myers shirt right now, see? I'm a hardcore Michael fan. I love Halloween. It just made me love slashers in particular. I love slasher horror movies and slasher horror books. It's my favorite subgenre in the genre of all time. I will always pick slashers over everything else. It's just my favorite, and Halloween is the reason I am a horror fan today. I feel like if I hadn't watched the movie in my young life, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So 100% Halloween. Number 4 is, what is the book that made you a horror fan? This is hard for me because, like I said, I didn't read a lot of horror in my teen years. I just watched horror mostly. I didn't really get into the horror genre until I was about like 22, 23, I would have said, I think. I don't actually remember. It's a long time ago, to be fair. I really can't remember. But I'm pretty sure it was Needful Things by Stephen King. I know I'm repeating answers. I'm sorry, but I love what I love, okay? So, yeah, Needful Things by Stephen King. It's just such a great book, and when I read it, I needed to read more horror. I was like, if this is what horror is like when you read it, then I could never stop. I need more. I need to keep experiencing what it's like, because Needful Things is such an experience when you read it. It's so crazy and detailed and magnificent, and I know I just said that I didn't like Stephen King's detail, but Needful Things, I think it really works for me. So I just knew that if more horror books were like Needful Things, that I needed to keep checking them out and trying them. Number 5 is, what is your favorite horror movie of all time? I kind of already answered that, and it's Halloween. I'm so sorry if this is so redundant and it's annoying. I love Halloween. If I had to pick any one of the franchise, like, let's be more specific, I would without a doubt say the first one. I love the first one the most. I think it's the best one, but I like them all except for Season of the Witch #3. That one is super annoying in my opinion. I don't know, when I first watched it, I thought Michael was gonna be in it, and then he wasn't, and I was confused. I will say the little jingle in the movie is very catchy, and my boyfriend and I like to sing it, but other than that, I don't really care for the movie at all. But yeah, I like them all. #1's my ultimate favorite. I really liked the new one that came out. I thought that was fantastic. Just to make this not so redundant and annoying, I will give you probably my second or so favorite horror movie of all time, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. However, and this might irritate a few people, I prefer the 2003 version with Jessica Biel. I do love the originals, don't get me wrong. I think the original Texas Chainsaws are amazing and I love them so much. I love the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw. I thought it was so good. I remember seeing it in theaters when I was a kid. I was in 3rd grade, I believe, and I was terrified. Granted, I lived in New Mexico at this time, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre takes place in Texas, and I was very, very close to Texas when I lived in New Mexico. I had family in Texas. I went to Texas a lot. My little 3rd grade brain thought that it was real. I thought he was very much real. I thought there was a cannibal chainsaw wielding maniac in Texas killing people, and I thought he was gonna kill me if I went, or he was gonna come into New Mexico and kill me. So I was terrified in that movie. I almost left before it even started when I went to the movie theaters. I was terrified, and I fell in love with it so much. It's my favorite. I know people are gonna be like, oh, the originals, oh, okay. That's your opinion, but I just love the 2003 remake. I love it. I love Jessica Biel in it as well. Her name was Erin in the movie, which I also think was something that made me like it. You know, my name is Erin and her name was Erin in the movie, so I was like, oh, we're like friends, you know, Erins are friends, you know. So yeah, I just really love that one as well. It's probably one of my all-time favorites. I also like Nightmare on Elm Street a lot. Freddy is one of my faves. #6 is what is your favorite horror book of all time, and pen palled by Dathan Auerbach. I talk about this book so much here on my channel. I love this book. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know not everyone's gonna like it. I was obsessed as soon as I started it. I could not put it down. As soon as I finished it, I wanted to reread it, which is a big thing for me because as someone who reviews horror books on my channel, I don't always want to reread the books that I read. So if I want to reread it, that's pretty big. And I read this like a year or so ago. I can't remember. I did a video on it. The video's, the quality's not great. It's not my finest book review, but it was more or less when I started my channel and my videos weren't great then. Even to this day, after a year or so of reading it, it stays with me. It's stuck in my head. I can't get rid of it. I love it with my whole heart and I recommend it to everyone. Question 7 is what is your favorite horror trope? And I'm gonna have to go with the final girl trope. I grew up watching Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. Those movies all do the final girl trope really well. There's just something about it. I love when the purest and nicest and sweetest, you know, one of the group, that girl is like not who you would suspect to win in a fight for her life, but she always pushes through and becomes this total badass. She just kicks butt and destroys the, you know, person that's trying to kill her. I just love that. I don't know. I really love it in books as well. It always makes me sad when there's not that one person that survives till the end. It's just something, it's like a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when everyone dies in a horror film or a horror book. I like at least one survivor to make me feel like, you know, good can overcome evil. So I just really like the final girl trope. Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously my favorite. She does that so amazingly well, and I just really, really like when that one girl just kicks butt. It's my favorite. And question 8, which is the last question, is why do you love horror? Now, this is a hard question. I'm not really sure. There's always been something that drew me to horror. I like being scared. Well, for the most part. I don't always like being scared. It just kind of depends on why I'm scared. But I am actually a very big true crime lover, but I'm also very anxious, and true crime can become a little too much for me sometimes. It can make me very, very anxious very fast. So horror, while some of those things that are in horror can happen, they're just a little too unrealistic half the time. Like, you know, Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy. I mean, they're a little unrealistic, so I know that they can't hurt me. Ghosts are a different thing, like entities, demonic possession, that stuff terrifies me because I do believe in them, so those ones freak me out a little bit more. But for slashers, it's just a little easier for me to know that I won't be murdered like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are serial killers, but slashers are a little bit different. They have that, you know, the characteristics that make them not real. I guess I just like being scared. Although nowadays, I'm 25, most horror things don't scare me. I haven't had a scary book or a scary movie actually scare me in a really long time. Nowadays, true crime scares me more than horror does. That's a hard question for me. Horror has just always been a part of my life. I've always just been that one person in my friend group who's like, I love horror, and they're like, you're weird, you're crazy. And it's just always been like part of my personality, I guess. I've always just been known as someone who loves horror, and I don't know, it's just a part of me now. I could never see myself never watching a horror movie again or never reading a horror book again. It's just so part of me that it would be weird if I never ever went near the genre ever again. I think just growing up as young as I did watching it, it's just ingrained in me to love it. I feel like if I didn't watch it so young growing up, maybe I wouldn't be as dedicated or as much involved as I am now, but I don't know, it's hard to answer that question. I guess I don't really think about it a lot. I just know I love horror, so I never have to answer that question. It's just fun and entertaining and sometimes scary and sometimes so thrilling that it gives you that adrenaline rush where you want to recreate that constantly. You love that rush of being scared. I guess I've always just been fascinated with things that are dark and creepy and scary and things that not everyone gravitates towards. I feel like that's just something I've always gravitated towards, is something dark and creepy and spooky and stuff like that. It's just something I've always moved towards in my entire life. That's a hard question. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Probably should have prepared like an idea for that question, but I didn't. I did this on the fly, trying to give you guys my full thoughts as I went. That's a hard question. Marie, I don't know. I don't know. I watched her video and she has some great answers. Way better than mine. I literally don't know what I'm talking about. If you watch her video, she's so put together and so like intelligent with her words, and I'm over here like, I like horror because it's scary. So maybe go watch her video because she has better answers than me. Yeah guys, that's gonna do it for the horror life tag. I will leave the questions in the description box, so feel free to do this tag as well if you are a horror lover as well. If you guys enjoy me doing tag videos like this, give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. If you have any tag recommendations, please leave them in the comments so I can hopefully try to do them more frequently than I am now. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends and talk about horror, books, makeup, all kinds of stuff. I do a lot on this channel, so hopefully there's something for everyone. And with that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!